Okay, good afternoon. I'm Ed Ullmann from Wellness RX, and today we're going to continue on with our series on leaders on the mountaintop. And I'm very, very proud today to have Dolph Semenza, and he is going to join us. We've been trying to do this interview for quite some time. But Dolph has been here on the mountaintop for 41 years. And until his retirement just last year, for 40 of those years, he was the owner of the popular Village Market, our local deli. And Dolph also has been very active in our community. And for the last 20 years, he has been one of 4 individuals on the Town of Hunter Village Board. So he's a councilman and has been close to the ground during that whole time. And we get the chance today to welcome him and find out a little bit more about Dolph and his ideas for us going forward. So Dolph, welcome.
Thank you, Ed.
For it. First, the question we have is 41 years. It's a long time. And tell us about your background. How did you get here?
Well, let's see. The first ski house we rented was in 1973. We had a ski house. We went from the shore to the mountaintop.
To Jersey Shore.
The Jersey Shore to the mountaintop. And then in 1980, I moved up. I bought was Cotton's Market. Was the old Cotton's Market. And then we were there for 12 years until we moved to our location we are now, where we bought a piece of property that was an old bakery, then a house, and we took it down and put up the building that we have. That's there now. And so I always wanted to go to my own business, and this was a perfect opportunity up here to do it. And we grew it from there. We found the person I bought it from told me that you could close for 8 weeks in the spring and 8 weeks in the fall. So coming from corporate, I worked for a corporate company in New Jersey, a major soda manufacturer. I thought, 8 weeks off in the spring, 8 weeks off in the fall, that's unbelievable. When I got here, I realized that I really couldn't close because we developed a local business.
Yeah.
And so that's how we governed our business, by appealing and working with the local people.
Yeah.
Because we became, we lived up here. So, but to not use them as not to deal with them as your primary customers didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So that was our foundation for our business for all these years.
Wow, it's excellent. When you came, obviously you came with your wonderful wife, Pat.
Yes.
How many years have you been married?
We've been married. We got married in 1974.
Wow, so all of this happened at the same time.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, 74, moved here in 1980. Yes.
Yeah.
Our son was born in New Jersey in 76.
Now you have one son, Dolph?
One son, yeah, and he has 3 children. We have 3 grandchildren, and he's a vice president of a pharmaceutical company, so to speak, that handles pharmacology products in hospitals, and he covers the entire United States with a sales team.
Great.
That's what he does.
So you told me one time you did a little music, a musician, huh?
I did. When I was in school, I learned I learned how to play the piano when I was young, and then when I was 14, I switched to guitar, and we had a band. I had a band through the whole time I was in high school, and we played after that for a couple of years when we were home from college, and that was it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, excellent. Yeah. As a fellow businessman, I just want to get your feelings of operating what it takes to operate a successful business for 41 years. What was it like for you? You had to get up early. It must have been.
It was a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling. I made a lot of friends, a lot of local friends, and we were fortunate that our place became, in the morning, was a go-to place for guys to come, whether they conduct business or just to have coffee. But a lot of business was conducted over the years in the deli. There we had enough seats for just about 40 people inside, And on the weekends, you had weekend people. Summertime, we had a lot of the park people, Ontario Park, Twilight Park, Elko Park, who mixed and mingled with local people, and it was kind of like it was like Cheers without a liquor license.
Yeah, but you know, everyone had their tables, didn't they?
Absolutely. Yes, it was very quirky. Certain people sat at certain tables, and if somebody got in early, an outsider sat down at the table, it kind of threw off the entire day's mojo, so to speak. Everybody was kind of, they were kind of out of sync. Yeah.
You know, I did have one of our patients here, a woman, say to me, "How do I get a seat there down at Dolphs, man?" I go, "I don't know." Excellent. So it was a lot of hard work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we
beneficial.
When I was at the first place, right across from Thorpe's service area, you couldn't get fresh rolls up here 7 days a week. You only get them 5 days a week. So, 1982, we started baking our own product, and
okay.
we baked every day of the week. So we had fresh product every day, and everything is made homemade in the store. So we started baking rolls, heroes, all our breads, and all pastry every day, muffins. So we had fresh product every day of the week.
Well, for
We didn't just lean towards the weekends. We leaned towards the week.
Yeah, and that became a niche for you.
Yes,
and everything else. Now, over the years, and looking at it through the prism of you as a public servant, and also being close to the ground with the people, being in retail, what have you observed? What changes have you seen in the town of Hunter and then on the mountaintop?
When we first started in 1980, it was primarily it was a very, very busy winter business. The ski rentals or just the ski area. There were people here from the 15th of November when they got their houses to the 15th of April. Nothing really mattered. Not the economy, not rain, sleet, snow, or hail. There were people here every single weekend. There were so many restaurants and bars up here that's where all the business came from.
Yeah.
And the ski slope was very busy. But the fact that everybody was here, there were so many people around on the weekends that it just it was unbelievable in business. And then the springtime came and it was slow. And then they had the festivals at the mountain all summer long. They started with the German festival, the German, the Irish. They had a country festival. They had an oldies festival. They had an American Indian festival. They had the summer times drew a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Very, very busy. And then you waited through the fall, and next thing you know, it was November 15th, and the people were back in town again. But over the years, the bars sort of disappeared. And
what year was that? Because I lived in Lanesville as a young pharmacist in 1974. Right. And I'm going to tell you, coming up here to the bar scene,
right.
You're walking around 4:30 in the morning.
Yes.
When did that peak?
Probably the late 80s. Probably around 1990 really made a change. There weren't as many bars around. And then the festivals were still good. And then we sort of made a switch to trying to make a switch to more of a family-oriented resort. But the perception of Hunter preceded what was actually going on up here.
Okay.
People still thought it was a bar town. And little by little, there were no bars anymore. Wyndham, which was a primarily family town, had more bars than Hunter at one point in time.
Oh.
So then it became more family oriented here. And with the festivals, then they became more music festivals as opposed to the German Alps Festival, the Country Festival, and they started with the Mountain Jam, and that was big for the summertime. They had in the spring they had the Tap New York, which was a whole microbrew festival, which is very busy, and then Oktoberfest. They were very busy. So the summers for that. But a lot of summers just picked up just because of where we are and the way the weather is up here. People came up here to do nothing.
Yeah.
Pretty much nothing. They came up to camp. They came up to walk, to hike, to go to South Lake, North Lake, Colgate Lake, and that started a whole new trend up here. Years ago, Mark Heyer, who everybody knows and loved up here, was the high school ski coach. He was everybody's favorite fifth grade teacher. Correct, Angie? I know it was my son's. And he opened a bike shop.
Uh-huh.
He opened a bike shop in Hunter, in the village of Hunter, in the old Dr. Kovalik's office. Dr. Kovalik was a mountaintop doctor up here for years, and you know his wife, Mrs. Kovalik.
She's one of my favorite.
She's a concert pianist.
Juilliard.
Right.
He still goes down to the city.
But Dr. Kovalik had an office there.
Yeah.
And he was very, very good. Anyway, when he passed, he left his office. Mark Heyer opened up a bike shop there, and they were doing mountain biking off of Hunter Mountain.
Yeah.
They had hooks put on the ski lift. People would take their bikes up there. He had a couple of pretty well-known races up there. Mm-hmm. They'd race down the mountain, but that kind of Wyndham really kind of took that over for some reason. Hunter, it didn't work well with Hunter, so Wyndham took over the mountain biking races, and then but we had that there for a while, and the way things have changed over the years with just in general, the people up here, I think, became more friendly towards the people that were coming up here on the weekends, because they weren't just coming up here to drink anymore. It reached a point that we didn't. When I first went on a town board in 2001, we still had a patrol on the streets at night.
Oh, okay.
Which we no longer have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there was no need for it because there's nobody on the streets. There's nobody out. But 4 o'clock in the morning, like you said, there were a lot of people in town.
Yeah.
People walking. There were places open at 4 o'clock to eat. And, so it's changed. It's evolved.
When exactly did the town start to go on a little let's call it aging, where we had all those bars that were open? They were big, and all of a sudden they're vacant.
Yeah.
And we know about the Rainbow little village,
right,
that the Hunter Foundation and Miss Patterson and came. What year was that they really made that commitment to try to get this aging town back as an important commercial center?
I think it started in the village of Hunter with Peter Finn and the Catskill Mountain Foundation, and I'm pretty sure it was somewhere around, I'd like to say the mid-90s, maybe 94, thereabouts. He took over the old, a red barn. Hunter was called Eliphas, and during the 80s was the disco era, and that was the place where everybody.
I hate it. Don't
that was where
the end of rock and roll.
Well, that's where everybody used to go in the early '80s. They'd go to Eliphas. Tanner's across the street was probably one of the best bars up here. That was a great place. They had a glass dance floor in there, but there were a lot of places like that. So Peter Finn, it was like Peter Finn really started the ball rolling in a different direction. He started buying up some of the older buildings in Hunter. Okay. And I think he was a little bit ahead of his time he was doing a lot of work. He used to bring people up because he did a lot of his work with his either publishing company or he had a big company in New York City, and they used to bring people up there for seminars. Okay. So it put people in town. And then he purchased the where Slopes was, which is now the Antique Center. Yeah. And but he started doing a lot of that in Hunter. He started with they bought some businesses, and it was like a double-edged sword. Like Hunter at one point, when I had a deli in Hunter for a while, from 92, around 92 to about 96 or 98 in there. And Hunter had had a liquor store, actually had a home little arts and gifts. Had a nice gift store. That was Carol Slutsky's. That was, can't remember the name of it. Then I had a liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
We had the deli and a hardware store. There was a ski shop, a hair salon, the library, Sturtz's Market, which was great. They had the Corner Collectibles and the Hunter Pharmacy. Across the
Which
street.
I worked, by the way.
Did you? Okay.
When I was going to graduate school, I worked for both Cy Horowitz here before he passed away,
Right.
and at the Hunter
And
Pharmacy. Yeah.
And they had that. And then across the street they had Jerry's Texaco, Mark Eyer's Bike Shop.
Wow.
They had Pete's Mobile,
Uh-huh.
all right, which was Mead's Mobile. And there was a bar there called the Ritz. That was old, and they were building houses up in the back. Jeff Prince was building these Viceroy homes, which are still up there, and there were a lot. It was a pretty vibrant community.
Wow.
It really was. It had its own identity.
Yeah.
Right? And Peter Frink came in and he bought the Texaco station and made it what it is today. So that was closed. And then one by one, they closed a lot of the businesses. They bought the pharmacy and they bought out the Corner Collectibles.
Right.
The movie theater he bought, but he kept that open. And then the ski shop left. And one by one, the businesses closed in Hunter. And then there's really nothing. The only thing that was left out there was now is really the hardware store, and I think that just recently
it's been
closed.
So give me a sense of Tannersville, how you saw it.
And then what happened in Tannersville,
revive
what happened is then the Hunter Foundation got formed as an offshoot of the Catskill Mountain Foundation. Catskill Mountain Foundation was more arts driven.
Still is.
They did a lot of work at the barn, the Red Barn there, and then they started with the movie theater to enlarge that, and they put the piano museum in, and so Peter's Finn's were more, Seam's goals were more art driven, as opposed to the Catskill Mountain Foundation broke off, and that's how they formed that, and that became their own sort of revitalization community for the village of Hunter, for the village of Tannersville.
Okay.
And then, so there was financing behind a lot of the newer businesses that came into town. They renovated buildings. They found tenants or owners, and they helped them get started in their businesses. And the man behind the Hunter Foundation is Chuck Royce, and his love of the area, I believe, is what drives him. And I've known him for quite a few years, and he's always interested in what's new, what's going on. He wants to know what the pulse of the community is. He's especially interested in the golf course. He always, when I see him in the summertime, he always wants to know what's going on. He's very, very pleased with the progress that's going on over there. There was talk that they were going to close it.
So he took it over.
When they purchased it.
I just want to tell you my little story with Chuck Royce. I was approached to come here to bring back a pharmacy to town because it was Tom McManus had closed 10 years prior to that after 34 years. So I met with Mr. Royce. I didn't know really who he was. And he said, what is it going to take for you to bring a pharmacy back to town? I go, what are you offering me? I had another store. And he laid it out, and they offered the Astor House, and he asked me what I needed in order to get up. I told him I have a model that takes traditional pharmacy with natural medicine. I like things looking really beautiful, and I want it geared towards kids. And he said, okay. And what else? I said, well, we got to do something with the parking lot and so on. Dolph, 38 minutes I met with the man. We shook hands. The rest is history. I had never had that experience in my life, so hats off to what you're just saying about Chuck Royce.
What I learned about Chuck Royce, when he would come in the store, he'd always, and I'd sit down with him and we'd have coffee, okay? But sitting with Chuck Royce was like sitting with Orville.
Oh, yeah,
We'd
yeah.
be at the mountain. We'd be skiing. We'd go in for lunch, and Orville would sit down with everybody, and we'd be sitting there. And people would have no idea who he was because he was walked around with a sweater on. He always had a plastic bag in his pocket. Orville. Chuck, on the other hand, comes in the store. He has a pair of chinos on and a sweater, and he has a cup of coffee and has the Times in front of him. No one knows who he is. I know him very well, but people have no idea who he is. He looks like just everybody, but that's the kind of people they are. That's how he is. That's a diversion in the store. I would have Orville and Ethel in for lunch every day.
Wow.
And then you'd have Chuck Royce in the breakfast. And then God forbid they sat at Bruce Tremble's table.
Right. And the rest is history. Hey, I want to ask you, the Slutskys had the ownership of the Hunter Mountain for a long time.
Right.
How important was that, to have that consistency of philosophy and ownership and culture in order to have the years develop as you've seen it?
It was very, very important. If anybody knew Orville and Izzy, you would know that they would do anything for the community. They were behind anything that the kids needed at the school. Okay, They were so involved in the banking part of Bank of Greene County, or it used to be called Greene County Savings before it went public. Okay, if you needed something at the bank, you could speak to Orville. Orville would speak to somebody who was on the board, and they would make it easier for you to go through the red tape. Okay. If you needed anything from Orville, he used to send tickets. He used to send us tickets for the festivals for the whole summer.
Yeah.
Okay. Orville was just a very, very giving person, and so was Ethel. And Izzy, they were all the whole family. But the way they ran the ski slope, you got to know when you were up here. You knew the people that owned the mountain.
Yeah.
So when you went skiing, you were inside having lunch. You knew Paul, you knew Gary, you knew David. You knew it. You knew the family. CB, you knew the whole family. You knew Orville. Orville would sit down with you, have a cup of soup, and he'd talk to you. It wasn't like he wasn't on a pedestal. He was just sitting like you and I are sitting, and that would be the end of it.
You know what? I was talking with Jeff Friedman yesterday, and who worked at the mountain.
Right.
And he said Orville and they were persuasive. If they wanted something, they'd call you up your home. They would push and push, but for the good spirit.
Yeah.
They wanted you. They needed you. They got things done. That's great. And you compare that now with
when I first got on the board, I was on the board, and the phone rang one time. It was 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, okay, there you
So
go.
I said, hello. He said, Dolph Orville. I said, yeah. He said, so what went on at the meeting last night? He didn't make it. Okay. I said, well, and that's the way it was, because he was up at 5 o'clock and the mountain, so everybody should be up at 5 o'clock.
Now, I have to tell you, that's rich history.
Oh.
And when we talked about the concept of helping businesses that are needed in the community to recruit them and help give them a chance to get up on their feet and give them a higher probability of success, that's very novel.
Yes.
You will not find that in too many communities here in America or in New York State, at least. Right. So, with that rich history, something you're talking about it so passionately, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I watching Vail Resort come in, I almost look at the notion of, and I understand COVID has been a rough time for it, but the corporate mentality that I have seen and from hearing, versus what we're talking about, the Slutskys and stuff like that, makes me sick. It's like, come on, and respect the history of this mountain, and respect the individuals who have given loyalty to the mountain, and have worked hard. And I haven't seen that. I've just seen a corporate mentality that has been. What are you guys thinking of? So there's going to be a setback before it comes back.
The thing, when I worked for a company called CNC Cola. It was a small company, small soda company. We did private label and our own brand. And I went there after college. Anyway, I was a truck driver in the summertime, and I worked my way up. Then I became a transportation manager, director of transportation, but it was a small company. But it was sold. We dealt primarily with beer and soda distributors from Baltimore to Boston, and we did all our own manufacturing. We did everything, and they sold to. It was sold to, and we knew the owners. I was good friends with the owner's son, and anyway, we had a very, very good relationship. If we wanted to do something, we did it. We didn't need all this corporate approval.
Yeah.
We needed a truck. We said, look, we have to get this. We did. Well, they sold to IT&T, okay, years ago, back in the 70s, and it was they owned Continental Baking, which was part of Wonder Bread and all those products. And as soon as they took over, they sent people in who did not know the business.
Right, it's the same.
And they took over, so the corporate mentality changed immediately. There were no more. We didn't make decisions on the fly. We didn't make any big decisions on the fly. Day-to-day things we could do that, but they changed the whole mentality of everything. The casual work, I don't want to say casual, not casual attitude, but the casual interaction with everybody from the office to the back to the, we had a lot of people, a lot of diverse backgrounds. We had Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Americans, blacks. It was very, very diverse. And but everybody got along. Corporate came in and it kind of changed everything around. So basically, it's the same thing that's happening there. There was no more. Nobody walks in there and knows the owner of Ale.
So they took a dagger to the culture.
Yep.
And then what happens? The workforce starts to say, what's in it for me?
Right.
I'll protect my back here, and make sure innovation goes off, creativity goes out of the way. Ideas go out of the way because nobody's going to put their nose out there to get it busted. So you play it safe. Then that's just we can do better than that. We've seen better than that. But that is what has happened in this country with the consolidation of power and its merger after merger after merger, and it does not lead to a better performance. And what I am so happy that you and so many other people had a beautiful experience of seeing a community come together like that. I want to ask you, you have in your heart community spirit. Now, you even helped me and volunteered when I did my vaccinations, COVID vaccinations.
Well, that's what people do here.
All right. Yeah, but that's the heart of who we are, what makes us great. Right, where you help somebody before they know they need help, for it. Where did that come from in you?
I don't know. I guess I was always like that, really. About a month ago, we had a snowstorm. We had that 12, 18 inches of snow.
Yeah.
So I was cleaning my driveway, and the guys who have an Airbnb on the corner from me, there's family down there renting it, and they couldn't get their cars out. So I walked down a block with a snowblower, and I cleaned the stuff in. And the guy said to me, he goes, boy, he said, people in the city would never do that for you. I said, you're not in the city. So we cleaned out this whole thing, and he was happy. I'm walking up the block. The guys next door come over, and they said, hey, can we borrow your snowblower? I said, no, but I'll come over and dig it out for you. And they said, thanks. But they were just like, really? You can just, that's it, Well, he said, my kids want to go skiing. I said, well, let's dig your cars out, and we'll get them done. But it's just the way it is. People help each other up here. In every way. People go out of their way. Perfect example is Darrell Legg, who was supervisor, now county legislator. Yeah. If anybody ever went to his garage during the daytime and watched him with the phones, and people call him, ask him questions about the town, that he stops what he's doing to answer you. And it's just the way he is.
Yeah.
He call people at night. You can. That's really kind of way it is. It's a nice way to be up here. When you see people and you talk to people in the stores, and you get a good feel. You have to be proud of where you live, I believe, to do that. If you're not proud of where you live and the kind of town that you live in, it makes a big difference. I saw a lot with the school, with Orville. The kids needed anything, they would go to Orville. You needed something, Orville was there.
Well, there'll be another generation that will want that spirit. And last week, Dolph, just in that, I had a 83-year-old patient come. He was just discharged from the hospital. Lives in Lanesville, and he's been here only one other time. And I came and said, look, they gave you a blood thinner, but it's very expensive. Your copay was $290. And he stopped and he just said, send me home to die. I'm not paying that, right? So I was able, because of the donations and the charity of the community, to my patient assistance fund and our charitable trust.
Right.
I said to him, we got it covered for you. Don't worry about it. It's going to be under our fund. Let's just get you home. And he goes, what about my pain medicine? And I said, didn't come yet. So we tracked it down. He went home, and we tracked it down from the hospital. We got his pain medicine. So I call him up. Nobody answers. And I said, I got to find his place down in Lanesville. I got there almost 9 o'clock. It was a late night. And I come with my little bag and he's still in there, comes out of his office. I go, I got your pain medicine. I got your pain medicine. And he opens up the door, and I tell him, make sure you take it with food so you don't get nauseous, and water so you don't get constipated. And he just looked at me with the greatest smile of joy. That you did this for me. I go, no, this is what we do. And it's exactly the spirit that you're saying. We take care of each other.
I mean, we did the town, we used to do the food bank, Lions Club, when I was more active in that, but we always did turkeys for people. We would find out who needed what for Thanksgiving, and somebody would go to Stories, get potatoes. We'd have full turkey dinners for people, and then, we'd always help out with the food
Doesn't
bank.
the town hall still?
Well, we didn't do it this year, last year because of COVID.
You did the
but we did
Thanksgiving
it. But we do
dinner
a
for all the
Thanksgiving
seniors.
dinner, for all the seniors. We do that.
And you pay for it.
Yes, yeah. Well, all the town board members paid for it. Yeah, but it was something to give back to the community. We always did stuff.
Beautiful.
But you don't see that other places.
No.
Whether towns are too big or whatever.
I'm telling you,
it's just.
I never ever thought that I would have the experiences of being of service to others and people giving back to me to make this pharmacy beautiful. It was really so. Let's just cherish that and let's pass that down to the next generation. That's what we got to do as we get a little bit older now.
We have such a great ambulance department that years ago, when I first came, was just a rescue squad. And because a rescue squad could transport people. Then was an ambulance, and it was volunteer, and over those years, that kind of stuff disappears. People can't. But we have such a great group on our ambulance department.
Yeah.
People don't realize we have a full-time, Town of Hunter has a full-time paid staff.
Didn't you just get new ambulances?
No, we got them a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But we pushed very hard to get the paramedics up here.
Oh, okay.
So now we have a paramedic in Hunter at the old Pete's Mobile Station. The building was renovated for them. And there's another one in Prattsville. So the wait time for people, and we pushed hard. Darryl and myself and the other board members were at the county legislature meeting, fightings for this, trying to get them to realize that, excuse me, if someone out in Platte Clove was having a heart attack, they were half an hour for an ambulance, at least. At least. If that had to come, the ambulance had to come from Point Lookout to Platte Clove.
We did.
You're looking at a half hour.
Yeah.
Okay? Or come up from Catskill. We want the support of all the county legislators, of Assemblyman Chris Tague. He was behind it. He got us funding. He got some funding for it, and it works out well.
Wow.
From not being able to afford to do this, we had the head of Green EMS, Mark Evans, said to me, we had a meet. Darryl called a meeting up here, so there would be more local people there, and Mark Evans, who's the head of Green EMS, and he's also the mayor of Athens or Coxsackie, one of the two. He said to me, Dolph, he said, if we move one of those paramedics up here, he said, what am I going to tell my constituents in Athens? I said, you're going to have to tell them they have to wait a half hour for a paramedic to come to their home. Well, and that was the truth. That was the truth. But we have more than we've had years ago as far as health and safety. We really do. We're with Dr. Schneider being here, or with the advent of more and more like emergency medical centers now, and it's a great place to live.
Yeah,
it's an absolutely great. We have a great school. Our kids go kids, you know,
Our
most people-
Superintendent Jones, he's quite impressive.
I mean, most people think that in this small school, kids don't go anywhere. They don't go to college. The kids, almost every kid goes off to school, and even not. But they all do different things, and it's a great school. You can do whatever you want in this school. If you want to be a ball player, or you want to be in a play, or you want whatever you want to do, you can do because you can do it. You can compete on that level up here.
You know, we take interns from the high school. Either we're going to be now getting them while they're still at school and they get paid, but we also have the graduates.
Right.
And I have said this to many people: if the quality of the students that I have had as interns are any indication of the quality of the students coming out of our small school, there is no way that an urban environment is going to compete.
No.
And I think that is an testament of a whole community coming together to make a quality school. Wanted to end today, as I didn't know you're such a historian of the town here, I have to tell you.
Well, I've been here since 1980,
But thinking of tomorrow, you know, we just got a $10 million grant, as you know, of course, for the village, and there is master plan coming together involved with the future. What challenges do you think we face here that either are opportunities you see or concerns that you see?
I'd like to see, I sent a letter to the village, I'd like to see them repair all the infrastructure in the town. We can't invite businesses to grow if we don't have the infrastructure to support them. If we don't have the water, if we don't have good water, we don't have water lines, we don't have that infrastructure. If the town we should have internet or broadband service throughout the village, so people don't have to come into stores and look for and sit there. Like we always had a hotspot at the deli, so people could use their phones. But the whole village should be free Wi-Fi. Okay, but we should have, and maybe the lake should be a bigger focal point than it is now, if that can get cleaned up and stuff. They have a lot of problems down here. Years ago we contacted the Army Corps of Engineers to clean it, but because it's not a navigable body of water, they wouldn't do it, or they couldn't do it at that point. But there's, I think some of the challenge will come from New York City DEP. Will we get expanded sewer use if we need it? Okay. The gentleman who owns Cortina Mountain now, okay, Dave Baker, he'd like to do something there. He's trying to do it with housing and that, but he has to put in a ridiculously non-cost effective sewer treatment facility, whether it's going to be ultraviolet lights to do that. The sewer line ends pretty much at his front on the street that goes into Cortina Mountain Estates. That's Turns Road, and they pump the sewer up to 23. Okay. Right across the street from Cortina Mountain Estates is a bike path. Okay. We've approached DEP about letting him hook up to the sewer and run the sewer line down the bike path all the way to Allen Road by the golf course, and then go in and then tie into the sewer treatment plant. There's he offered to pay for that. Okay. There's no paving involved. Of course, the bike path is a gravel bed. There's no road closures. Of course, you're on a bike path. Right? That would save this gentleman a tremendous amount of money, plus operating expenses, operating sewer, which might enable him to do something better there. Now that I know that's not inside the purview of this money coming out, but that could be a perfect snowboarding, complete snowboarding park.
Oh wow!
For the mountaintop, especially if people watch the Olympics this year. That was probably one of the highlights. The sport skiing through the half pipes, and that could be a solely, but somebody has to fund all this.
Yeah, yeah.
But that'd be a perfect place for that.
Wow.
And that would open up a second resort, which we had years ago, which is where all our children learned how to ski. They'd go there on Friday nights. The kids would go there during the week. Where my son lives in Dutchess County, he lives in the first town of Dutchess County. They have an area called Thunder Ridge there. They're open, I believe, 5 nights a week for skiing. So my youngest grandson skis there. My oldest grandson learned how to ski there. He's in college now. But these kids go there, and that's where they ski.
Yeah.
It's 10, 15 minutes from their home, and that's where all these kids go. They learn to ski. But that's a perfect spot for just snowboarding.
That's a big thinking. A couple of things on the board now, on the town board. You got to be looking at an ordinance for the B&B industry. We got to get some regulatory. What do you think?
We have over 500 Airbnbs in the town of Hunter. Okay, we are looking for. We're in discussion with it now. We've looked at a couple other towns' models. Some of the towns are extremely restrictive. Our new building inspector, she comes from Shandaken, or was working in Shandaken. She lives in Westkill anyway. She's working on 300 permits that they've given out now, so they're going to limit the amount of people who can rent out their house to Airbnbs.
Okay.
For us, how do you tell somebody what they can or can't do with their home? If they don't do that, then it'll be seasonal. So the other thing is that what we'd like to do is just make the houses that people rent safe, so they know that what they're renting is a safe place, that they have the proper amount of bedrooms, that they're not using a big closet as a bedroom, that they're not overcrowding them, that if they have a septic system, that it's adequate for 12 people instead of 6 people, that the houses all have working fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. If you come up here on the weekend, you'll see a picture of a house that may not be like that when you get there, but you want them to know that it's at least safe. So that's what our plan is. That's going to be our. Sorry about that. That's going to be our main.
That's someone that doesn't like the legislation you're doing.
Yeah. That's going to be our main plan, is to make sure that the place that we don't want to control everything they're doing, but we'd like them to know that. I don't know how to shut that off anyway. We'd like them to know that when they walk into a place that it's safe.
Yeah.
And that there's a checklist, that they know what to do, that we feel that they should have off-street parking, that they should have garbage pickup, so that they're not riding around with a bag of garbage on Sunday looking where to throw it.
Yeah.
And they're not, so it doesn't wind up on the mountain road.
Well, I think you're really telling the listeners that this is going to be a comprehensive
Oh, it is. Oh, it
piece
has
of
to.
ordinance.
Yes.
And to attack a lot of different issues for it. I have one question for you. The migration that has come up during COVID to the mountaintop. And some are working out of homes, some are retired, some are coming to their second homes, and so on. Historically, that has ebbed and flowed up. What do you think? Do you think this migration is going to become more permanent than we've ever seen before?
I think some people, are going to continue to come up here, but they may go places that they didn't go to during COVID. And I think some of the people who are working from up here are going to realize that things aren't 5 minutes away like they used to be where they lived. And if they want to go to Albany to go to Macy's, it's an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes. And it's like, really? I have to drive that for? That's the point. If they're looking for just to work, to be able to ski or bike or hike or do that, then this is a place for them to be. I think more people, I think some will go back, but I think more people that were here will take advantage of what it's here, whether it's 3-day weekends, whether they'll work, if they'll be able to work remotely, they may work 3 days there and work 2 or 3 days up here. So I think that we're going to have, I think the people that came up during COVID will stay up here. Some of them will stay up here.
Well, you would say we have some very exciting times ahead, huh?
Yep,
on the
absolutely.
mountaintop.
Yeah, we do.
I really Really, thank you so much for coming today to talk with us and to share that optimism. You are a good man, Dolph.
Well, thanks, Ed. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you very, very much.